Ephemeral Retold, written and narrated by Christina. Her heart skipped a beat as she heard a familiar step land behind her, and she turned to see Cat Noir striding towards her, smiling curiously as he tucked his stick into his belt. "Something on your mind, milady?" Ladybug looked down and twisted her fingers uncomfortably. "Well, yes, it's about earlier today. When I was—" Cat Noir interrupted, a pained expression on his face. "Milady, I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to come help you. I wanted to transform, but my father made that impossible." He looked regretfully towards the ground. "I hope you didn't wait too long for me to show up. I know you were clever as always and managed to defeat him with all those other heroes, but I wish I could have let you know ahead of time that I wasn't going to make it. Then at least you would have known not to rely on me." He hung his head, and Ladybug touched his shoulder reassuringly. "Oh, kitty, I know you did everything you could. I'm just glad nothing happened to you." Cat Noir smiled gratefully, then perked up and said, "I bet you just thought I was grooming myself, since you know how much thought we cats put into our appearance. Haven't I told you that even my civilian side has to be picture perfect?" Ladybug glanced away, and Cat Noir realized that something else was still on her mind. "What is it, milady?" "Actually, it's your civilian self I wanted to talk about." Cat Noir looked at her in surprise. "But I thought we weren't supposed to discuss our civilian lives, to protect our secret identities." Ladybug turned away and rested her hands on the ledge of the balcony, the wind tugging softly at her hair. "After the battle, Master Suhan found me and said that as the guardian, I should know who all the Miraculous soldiers are, in order to protect them better and to contact them in cases of emergencies. What happened today could have gone a lot smoother if I had known where you were and why you didn't come. If anything were to happen to you in your civilian life, I wouldn't know where to find you, which would mean losing the Black Cat Miraculous as well as—" She paused, then added quietly, "one of my closest friends." Cat Noir's eyes widened in confusion and disbelief, although there was a glint of hope in them as well. "You mean you want me to show you my true identity?" Hesitantly, he stood beside her and placed his hands on the ledge beside hers. "I know it goes against what Master Fu told us, but that was before he made me the guardian, and Master Suhan does claim to have more experience. Still," she took her gaze off the night sky and turned to face Cat Noir, "this should be your decision. If you think it would be best for me to know your identity, then you can tell me whenever you're ready. But if not, we can keep things the way they've been and figure it out as we go." Cat Noir looked down thoughtfully. Then a slow smile spread across his face, and his eyes twinkled as he said, "Lady, haven't I warned you that if you see me, you'll have no choice but to fall in love with me?" Ladybug's eyebrows rose incredulously. "Cat, this is serious." He grinned sheepishly. "I know, milady. I guess I'm just a little nervous. I've been dreaming of this moment for so long, but now that it's here, I guess—" He paused and glanced away uncertainly. Then he said softly, "What if I'm not what you expect me to be? What if this changes things between us? What if—" He looked down. "What if you don't like who I really am?" Ladybug's heart melted as she saw how sincere and vulnerable her partner was. "Oh, kitty." She stepped closer and laid her hand against his arm. "It doesn't matter who you are beneath that mask. You will always be the same daring, charming, incredible Cat Noir to me, and nothing could ever change that." Her eyes stared warmly into his, and he soon smiled back at her. "All right, then. I'm ready now." He took a step back and lifted his arms for a moment, then hesitated. Ladybug tilted her head. "Are you sure you want to do this?" "Yes, milady. It's just that, well, whenever I imagined it, we revealed our identities together." He looked half timidly, half hopefully toward Ladybug and asked, "Will you show me who you really are too? I promise your secret will be safe with me." He let his arms fall to his sides and stepped closer to her. "If it's safer for you to know my identity, it'd be better for me to know yours as well. Then I could easily find you if there was a problem, and I could protect you as your civilian self. We wouldn't have to hide from each other anymore." He gently took her hands between his own. "What do you say?" Ladybug gazed thoughtfully into his eyes. It would be so much easier if they could find each other during civilian life. She thought of the freedom that came from working alongside Alia, and and her heart longed to share that freedom with Cat Noir. She knew how much this meant to him, and if she was honest, she knew it would mean a lot to her too. A half-smile crossed her face as she felt the tender warmth of Cat Noir's leathered hands clasping hers, when suddenly a flash of white filled her vision and an intense fear struck her heart. A wave of images and words flooded her mind as she heard a voice shouting her name with anger and pain, and once again felt the shake of the ground as a massive white surge of power threatened to destroy the earth. She choked back a scream and pulled her hands out of Cat Noir's grasp, hugging them tightly to her chest. Cat Noir looked questioningly at her, his face filled with concern. "Are you okay, m'lady?" Ladybug took a deep breath and smiled shakily. Yes, I'm fine. It's just I had a sudden cramp in my foot, but it's better now." Cat Noir looked relieved, then said, "So, shall we?" Ladybug lowered her head. "I'm sorry, Cat Noir, but I can't let you know who I am just yet." Cat Noir's face fell in hurt and confusion. "But why not?" "It's not that I don't want to, Kitty. It's just that—" She hesitated, then said, "As the guardian, Shadowmoth's main target would be me, and the less people that know my identity, the harder it will be for him to discover it." Cat Noir put his head down and sighed. "I understand, m'lady." He turned away and leaned against the balcony ledge. Ladybug's heart ached for him, but the memory of Cat Blanc was still fresh in her mind. They stood in silence for a moment, then Ladybug stepped up behind him and softly put her hand against his shoulder. "I will show you my identity eventually, Cat Noir, and after we defeat Shadowmoth, there'll be no reason to keep secrets from each other anymore. And once I know your identity, it'll be easier to find you, and we can help each other more than ever before." He straightened and nodded with a smile. "You're right as always, m'lady. I'll be patient, and in the meantime, I'll introduce you to my civilian side." With a flourish, he stepped back and announced, "Claws in." A bright surge of green flickered around him as his leather suit disappeared in exchange for dark orange shoes, blue jeans, and a striped shirt. Ladybug gasped in shock. "Adrian?" He looked up at her shyly, and a doubtful smile played across his face. "Surprise." Ladybug could hardly breathe. Adrian? Cat Noir was Adrian?